fundraiser for Jewish and Catholic Society, as well as an opportunity for the Temple Brotherhood to put on a meal for the congregants and entertainment by Mark Brewer and Shelby Hiker, who are personal friends of mine and wonderful musicians. So if you have not already signed up, please do so. You should be getting invitations in the mail. Okay, today's event, this election for local issues, is being cooperatively sponsored by Temple Brotherhood, Congregation of Ann Luna, and the Community Relations Committee of the Tulsa Federation. You all here? And I'd like to explain a little bit about the format of how the event is going to go, and then we'll get started. We're going to initially address Vision 2, and we will have a speaker in favor of it and a speaker against Vision 2's proposal. Each speaker will have 10 minutes to speak, and then we'll have questions and answers up to a total of 35 minutes, including that 20 minutes. If we finish early, we'll move on to the next issue. Questions to address to the speakers should be brought to me. I deliberately put myself at an outside table so I wouldn't disrupt the flow of the event. So please, if you're in the middle and ask a question, go to the back, walk around, and get questions. And I will try to get to as many of the questions as time allows. I will try to, I will read the question as it's written. If it is something that I feel is comfortably written, if it's not, I may edit it a little bit. So, but it will be as written, and I'll try to pick which ones can be given first. We'll then move on to state question 765, the format will be the same. 10 minutes for each speaker, questions and answers up to a total of 45 minutes. Questions? Good. All right, let's get started. Vision 2, $748.8 million, 13-year plan to extend Tulsa County to 0.6% Vision 2025 sales tax. It'll start when the current one expires at 1/17 and last until 12/31/29. By the way, there's an excellent overview of all the different aspects of this on Tulsa World's website. It's tulsaworld.com/Vision 2025. There's a lot of information. Vision 2, excuse me. A lot of information. So let me introduce the speakers, and then we'll have them come up. Actually, we can come up and sit right now if they like. Commissioner Karen Keith and J.B. Alexander. I'd like to tell you a little bit about each. Yes. Not sure. Is it better if I move back away from the microphone? Is that better? It's the first thing couldn't hear me, so I'm trying to find a happy medium. Commissioner Karen Keith was elected Tulsa County Commissioner in District 2 in November 2008. Begins her second four-year term in 2013. A 1976 graduate of Oklahoma State University, her degree in radio, TV, news, and public affairs. She worked 26 years in broadcasting, with 21 years at KJRH, which is an amateur reporter, as well as the executive producer and host of Oklahoma Living. She became the mayor of the Director of Community Relations and Vision Implementation, serving as part of the team focused on Vision 2025. She helped form the Vision 2025 Oversight Committee. She spends many hours each year working to benefit the community and state through several organizations. She's been involved with the Brookside Business Association for many years and was instrumental in creating Tulsa's Halloween Parade, Boo Ha Ha. She served on the board of Rotary of Tulsa and will be the president in 2013. She has won multiple awards for her service in public speaking, and there's a huge list that many of you probably know her face. I won't go through all the awards. J.B. Alexander is the chairman of the Tulsa County Republican Party and has served in leadership capacity for the past 4 years. He was born and raised in Raleigh, Missouri. For the past 10 years, he has worked as project manager and inspector for the municipal capital improvement projects, which include roadways, water, sanitary sewer systems, and storm drain systems in diverse communities throughout northeastern and central Oklahoma. He served 11 years in the United States Army through the National Guard, including tours in Belgium during Desert Storm and twice in Panama. He was activated in response after the Earl bombing, the 1999 Northern tornado, and the massive flooding along the Mississippi River in St. Louis in 1992. He currently serves on the steering committee for the vote no on Vision 2, and he and his wife Maria live in Alaska. Do we need to flip the coin, or can you? Okay.
Guys.
I will go in order of the seats.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you all so much for allowing us to present today. I mean, I am all about moving this region forward and continuing the momentum. So I will always be yes if I feel like we have a package that is good for the region. And having worked on the first Vision 2025 package, I can tell you it was a very lengthy process. Now, we learned a whole lot in that process, and I don't feel like we need to spend as much time trying to figure it all out, because it was a long process. What we did this time was not micromanage so much from the top down. As a leadership team, we didn't need to tell Glenville that they have retail, new retail. They've got new hotels. They've got new restaurants. They know that they want a sports complex to bring outside dollars in, to bring people in to that sports complex to help make their new businesses successful. We didn't need to tell them all that. They knew what they wanted. Sand Springs knew what they wanted. Jinx, they know what they want. Wausau knows what they want. So the process wasn't as lengthy, but it didn't need to be. And for Tulsa County, I'm going to talk about that for just a second, because it's critical to our future. We no longer have really the ability to do the fix program. So we have an aged-out facility that is a juvenile justice center. Any of you been there in this room? I think David Black was there recently. It's a mess. I mean, it must be fixed. We have $38 million in there, and I hope to get some foundation support to get that project done as well. We got $38 million, and it's going to be transformative. Our employees that are out there do not believe anything is ever going to happen to their facilities. And I wish all of you would go there. There is a video you can look on YouTube, just look up Tulsa County Juvenile Justice Center, and you'll get a real good sense of what it's like. We have levies that no longer really function. And we've been working with the Corps, we've been working with FEMA. In August of next year, those levies could be decertified. We have $10 million in this package to help us get started. Right now, the overall fix is $26 million, but we're using some assessments to help raise the rest of us. This will give us the grace that we need with FEMA to go to get those levies working on those improvements so that we can it's going to take a long time. So that money is going to go a long way towards helping us get those levies repaired. We've got some money in there for roads and bridges. I'll be dedicating some of the funds that go to District 2 to the Gilcrease Expressway. And people that don't understand that maybe Gilcrease Expressway is not finishing the loop around our city. That is, the city of Tulsa is shrinking in population. That's not a good thing. So by completing the Gilcrease Expressway and getting closer to that dream for a lot of people, you'll see development just as you've seen along the Creek Turnpike. So that's really critical. The city is putting some dollars toward it as well. Sand Springs is putting some money towards it. So the Creek Nation is also very, very interested in seeing that done, and the Osage Nation. So we're going to have lots of support on that one. So the county issues are critical to me. And as for the city of Tulsa, I was really proud of the process that they went through and ultimately the projects that they decided on. I'm happy about the zoo getting some dollars that definitely needs to be upgraded. I'm happy about the Children's Museum. We've talked about that for absolutely years and years, and it's just never gained traction. This time, they have a fabulous plan put together, and I think when all of you read and hear about it, you're going to be as excited as I am about that. Fire training center, and of course, getting water in the river. The city is putting enough money to make sure that both the zinc dam and the sand and not the sand free dam, the zinc dam and the Jinx dam will get done. And Jinx will partner with the Creek Nation. Obviously, they're going to benefit from that. So you're going to see actual water in the river, not the water. So what's that really going to happen? Yes, if this passes, we'll get water in the river. So that's pretty darn exciting. And I brought some ballots back in the back, and just for your information, they're pretty tough to read, actually, but the county propositions are right in the middle. There's Prop 1 and Prop 2, it says county Russian. But I would encourage you to pick up these ballots. And I know you're going to talk about one of the state questions, and David has also put back there from the Oklahoma Policy Institute. They really have analyzed and done a fantastic issues that you'll be talking about today, and then get your ballot. And then next Sunday, the Tulsa World will have in their editorial page a list of everything. That would be really helpful, because if you don't study on these questions, and a lot of people won't, they're going to go in blind. So I didn't mean to get off on that. I know I'm out of time, so we take questions in a minute. Baby.
First time I've met Commissioner Key, so it's good to put a face to a name. So that's another good point about being here this morning. I just want to thank you all for inviting me here today to talk about this issue. I'll just tell you a little bit about our NO committee to begin with. Our NO committee is made up with a lot of different people across the political spectrum. We have Democrats, we have Republicans, and we have some independents that are on our committee and helping with the vote no push on this issue. There's not a person on the committee that I've talked to or we've met during the time that doesn't support some type of involvement in certain things in economic development within Tulsa County. One of the largest things, of course, anybody across the board is going to support is roads. And if anybody sitting here can realize that streets and roads are a major problem in a lot of communities, including Tulsa, then we totally support that. But this Vision 2 package, we believe, is just too quick, too soon, too vague, and ultimately too sloppy being brought before the general public. In August was the first time I'd even heard about it, but yet it had been in the works for certain groups for over a year and a half. There was a consulting firm hired by the Tulsa Chamber that actually completed the report and turned it in March of 2012 that the commissioners had had hold of and had been studying it since that time. This project, as far as the Vision 2 funding, one of the main reasons I have, whether you support the projects, taking that out of the picture, is the fact that we're borrowing money now. We're going to borrow the money to make the payments for the next 4 years because the money doesn't come in until 2017. And if you look at your personal checking account, if you look at your city, is that good fiscal policy? And I say no, it's not. Borrow money to make the payments. California's waded into that over a few years. There's one school district that's actually borrowing money now, not making a payment for 20 years. Their $105 million bonding will end up being paid back to almost $1 billion. We don't need to go down that road. So let's talk about the big thing, aerospace industry, an American spirit. The aerospace industry, several issues on this. You've got to look nationwide. Everybody sitting here like me has got a little bit of gray, or some of us have a lot more gray in our hair than others. And if you'll remember back in the 70s and 80s, manufacturing. What happened to manufacturing during that 20-year migration period? It went overseas. At first, if you'll recall, the government officials were telling us that it's just those small factories that make those cheap goods that are going to China. What happened in the 90s? In the 1990s, our tech industry went to India and China for Silicon Valley. And today, the aerospace industry is doing the exact same thing. In 2010, Continental Airlines moved their heavy maintenance facility, just like Tulsa's. They moved it to China in 2010. And in September of 2012, American Airlines, through Alliance, announced that their Fort Worth hub was being closed down, and 3 lines are being moved out of Fort Worth. One of those lines is the 767 line, and it is coming to Tulsa at the last word. And we do have the facilities and the ability to handle that. The 777 line out of Fort Worth is going to China. To be competitive globally, if we're in this global environment that we're being told that we're into competition-wise, how can we in the United States compete with countries that have no child labor laws, no workers' comp, no OSHA, no EPA regulations? That's what we're competing against. We're not competing against Wichita, who, by the way, did invest almost $500 million into their facility for Boeing. And what happened to Boeing? They packed up and left. Indianapolis, where United was at, in the 90s, they invested $300 million into their facility. What happened to United after they said they were going to bring 6,500 jobs? They brought 3,000 jobs, and in 2003 they went bankrupt, and they left Indianapolis. Investing our money into an industry, I personally believe business is not good sense for public dollars. The second point is putting money into an industry, if you're going to do it, that is showing a track record of doing what previous industries have, and the movement overseas is not good policy. I mean, you've got to see the writing on the wall of that. We can, as a nation, compete against those countries, but that's what we're expected to do today. Several other issues on the issue was Spirit Aero Systems. We all know that America's in bankruptcy, and even they came out a week or two ago in the paper with a press release that said in the short term, it's not going to have any impact, Vision2, on America's decisions. And that's right, because if America sells to U.S. Air, which we don't know what the future holds with that. If they sell to U.S. Air outsources 100% of their maintenance. Spirit Aero Systems last year in 2011 had a reported $191 million profit. $191 million. Last year, Spirit did get $4.8 million from the state of Oklahoma through a jobs creation program. And then we're being asked to give them another $20 million. At what point does business stand on its own, especially one that has $191 million? Are we being asked or being pushed to give money for something? Are they holding jobs as a hostage over taxation? I don't like that idea. Also, the contracts with Spirit and American Boat indicated that they were supposed to keep up their facilities and maintain those facilities at the very low rate, I believe it's somewhere around $1 a year, a very cheap rent that they have out there at the airport. Another issue, American and Spirit are large corporations, yet our Department of Commerce is continuing to tell us that 80% of the jobs in this country are created by smaller business and smaller corporations. Why are we funneling hundreds of millions of dollars into a few job creators up here when we have 80% of our jobs being created by smaller business and smaller corporations? And the response to that many times is, if we give these people the big money, these people will reap something off of it. Well, they're reaping very little off of that. What we need to do is concentrate, I believe, on our state level and on our county level, is focusing on those smaller job creators, the ones that create that 80% of jobs in this country, in this nation, and in our state. That's what we need to focus on. And what do we need? We need good streets. We need good roads. When you come into Tulsa and you drive around the area, Commissioner Keith is correct. We need to do some work on our roads. But in the county proposal, they're investing $25 million into roads and bridges. I work in that industry every day, and I've been in it for over a decade. $25 million on the size of Tulsa County is nothing. It takes $1 million just in construction costs for one lane of concrete road or highway system. So if you have a 5-lane street like so many are around Tulsa City, that's $5 million for 1 mile of just construction. That doesn't count engineering costs, utility relocation, or having to buy the right of way for people. $25 million is not a lot of money when it comes to road and bridges. And when you start building bridges and put in there, that sucks up even more money a lot quicker, because those are a lot more expensive than just 100 feet of street. So there's so many areas of Vision2. What we want to see is go back to the table, let's say no, and let's look at Tulsa's future with a lot more people involved in it. Not just meetings about how the local communities want to spend their dollars. Yes. And as is being said about different projects and communities, these guys have voted down these projects in the past. Why do they keep coming back up? Glenpool, they voted down their sports complex. That's a Glenpool issue. This doesn't need to be a county issue on Proposition 2. That needs to be a local issue on Proposition 2. Let Owasso, let Glenpool, let Sand Springs, let those guys battle that out. If we pass this as a county tax, it will be controlled at the county level. And there's nothing in writing that guarantees 1 penny of this money will go to any of these projects, except for what is being said on paper or what the verbally committees do. The tax dollars are not tied in to the tax or to the project. So that Proposition 2 money, it will still be controlled by the county. And most likely the county commissioners will let the cities do what they want with that. But ultimately that's controlled as a county tax. So let Owasso, let Sand Springs, let Glenpool, let them pass their own third penny or whatever they want to do for their communities. That way they can go to their city councilors and argue that point. When this is created, what's recommended by the Chamber study says that a 7-person commission or a trust will be created. It is a self-appointed trust of 3 elected county officials, the Tulsa mayor, and 3 community mayors. That means 6 communities won't have representation on this trust because there's 10. 4 will be on the self-appointed committee, So that trust has been recommended, and they put it right, that they meet behind closed doors so they're not subject to open records requests until the projects are decided, and then those projects will be presented to the public. There's just so many aspects, a whole laundry list of issues with this Vision 2 that we need to say no. This is not Vision 2025. This is a different ballgame, it's a different task. So our position is to vote no on it, and then let's come back to the table. We've got 4 years until 2025 ends. Let's look at the successes and failure of 2025, figure out what we're going to do with the 1 to 200 million overage in 2025 that's projected, and then in 2016, let's vote on something else. Thank you.
Well, I was getting worried because I didn't have a single question until about a minute and a half ago. I was worried what we were going to do. There are a number of very good questions. There are a few that are very simple, so I'm going to kind of put them all in here together. And it basically has to do with, to use some people's words, what was the rush? Why were there no public hearings before this? Why was there such a short planning period before this was created as opposed to the length of time with Vision 2025?
I would contend that in fact it was not rushed. Jamie admitted himself. He said, well, I know they were working on this for a year and a half before, and in fact that was the case. We were looking at what we needed to do long-term to begin planning for a renewal of Vision 2025. So we, in fact, were working on this, well ahead of this. The American Airlines crisis moved things forward. And when you say, well, American isn't worth saving, look, if American goes away, it goes away. We still need a roof on the building. It's a mile-long building. If you take a tour of the bus plant and you look up, you see tarps hanging over $1 million equipment because the roof is leaking. And then they have no air conditioning in the bus plant. Those are things a landlord should take care of. And their electrical is completely and totally outdated. They can't add any new equipment. So this is really not about just American Airlines. It's about making sure that we have viable public facilities so that we can attract somebody else to come in should American go away. The other issue, too, is if you support small business, by golly, how many small businesses are going to go away if we lose a big company like American Airlines? How many small businesses will dry up and go away? That's a huge issue for the Tulsa region.
We're going to be exercised on back and forth here. Why is the rush? And it had been in the works for a year and a half, and the general public didn't know about it. Something that we're committing funds to is not going to start until 2017 through 2029. Right now, for instance, Commissioner Perry, he's not running for re-election. So that means in 2017, he's not even going to be in office. We don't know what the political landscape is going to look in 2017 with any of our commissioners and our county representatives. Yet we're voting something in that they're not going to, mainly, some of them may not be controlling down the road. The smaller businesses and the threat of America, it's what's going to happen to America is going to happen. As far as the buildings themselves, again, we go back to what the contract was on their lease agreement. They were supposed to maintain those buildings that while they were in there, American and the bus plant and Spirit. And if there's holes in the building, if there's things that need to be updated, the taxpayers have already funded that by giving them those facilities. They should have invested in those and just maintained those as the contract said. Thank you.
To tag on to that same topic, a number of people asked, how do we know that if we make improvements at American Airlines that they will stay?
Oh, no. I mean, I don't think there's any guarantee. And nobody's saying that it is a guarantee. Again, it goes back to basic infrastructure that is there and solid. I mean, you can't even just isolate American Airlines. But if we have a roof that works, somebody else is going to be attracted to perhaps come in and take over those facilities. American Airlines, the three commissioners have said they do have some things that's specific to American Airlines. It's a little testing site for the engines. Right now, those pods are too small. So we are not going to look at anything that is specific to American Airlines unless there is a commitment from American Airlines to stay. The Tulsa World did a story the other day, and they called all of us individually, and what they determined was all three of us felt the same way. So that's how we're going to handle that. So
there is no guarantee. I mean, there is. An American has admitted that. In the short term, it won't have any impact. They don't know their own future. But let's look again at the whole. Forget American, and let's look at Spirit. Let's look at the facilities. The Tulsa bus plant has been in negotiations for a couple of years of possibly moving to Georgia. To the Georgia, Alabama, they have another plant down there. There may be a corporate merger because of that. The building's a minor thing with regard to it. Has to do a lot with labor costs, shipping of where the materials are coming from to the plant. There's a lot larger issues with the bus plant than just the building facility. But we go back again. There was a lease agreement signed that they would maintain those buildings. Where do we start saying, hey, the taxpayers have invested? We've invested heavily into that airport out there. The companies that are out there, the taxpayers of Oklahoma, have invested heavily into those jobs out there. At what point we say, no more. You've got to stand on your own 2 feet. You're a profitable corporation. The IC Bus Plant is a profitable corporation. Spirit is a profitable corporation. When do they start standing on their own and we stop letting them hold jobs as hostage? If American leaves, it leaves. Then that's the challenge of the community to come together, look what we can do to lower taxes, whatever we've got to do to look at other industries to come into the area to make it profitable for them to come in. And look at that 80% of those job creators. I'm not talking about the mom and pop convenience stores. I'm talking about the corporations that hire 100, 200, 300 people. Those small job creators. Let's look at that, sit down at the table with them, and start looking at the future in that direction instead of saying, let's just keep throwing money at something and hopefully it will stay.
This question asks, if Vision 2 fails, what do we do to quickly get our city needs taken care of?
Oh yeah, if Vision 2 fails, I mean, for Tulsa County, that's going to be pretty devastating because we have, like I mentioned, the levies. We absolutely need those dollars to begin to work on that. If FEMA decertifies our levies next August, that's just not a good thing for anybody. We have made Holly Refinery protected by that, all sorts of businesses, 500 homes. It's just not a good situation. I don't think we send a very good signal if we're not willing to take care of our buildings out of the airport complex. So I think we all need to be aware that we're sending a pretty bad signal out there to the IC bus plant. I mean, as J.E. said, if somebody else is boarding them and they've got employees working and it's 114 degrees outside, and they have these big fans just swirling hot air around, which, I mean, they invested in those fans. They need some HVAC in that building. They can't really add too much more because the electrical is so outdated. So those are things we need to take care of. So what happens next if these things go down? Well, I'm not sure. We'll obviously have to go back and rethink how we get these issues taken care of. But we are on a bit of a timeline. And I haven't heard JDE say anything about some of these issues from Proposition 2.
Before you leave, another question was, where are the levies that are involved? I think some people want to know more specifics about that.
Okay. Our levees begin in Sand Springs. You may remember in, I think it was 87, we had a breach. They have old clay pipes that were built during the war. They couldn't use metal, so those old clay pipes have collapsed. And what happens if you have a high water event, the water will come under it, it boil, and the levee is then breached. And Sand Springs had to do major sandbagging to protect Keystone Dam. But in a high water event, they let the water out of Keystone Dam. We all remember that. So the levees really are critical in this day and age. And people will tell you that, as well as the Corps of Engineers. And I think Galen could talk about that as well, because Galen knows a whole lot about our levee system.
And what do we do if I agree with Commissioner Keith on the levee systems? There's certain things that we got to focus on. Our streets, our roads, our bridges, levee systems. Those are quality of life issues that affect everybody across the board. The thing with Vision 2 is keep in mind, there's no cap on this. The $748 million is calculated on a zero growth percentage from 2017 through 2029. Zero growth. The last 10 years, Tulsa's had a 2.4% inflationary growth. If we use the 2.4%, that comes out to about $990 million, not $748 million. So some of these things on the $25 million for the county roads and some money for the levees, those things that we do need that our government should be investing into and taking care of, is a small percentage of almost $1 billion of money that can easily be coming in by 2029. And there's no mechanism in Vision 2 to say you have to spend this money on this. Vision 2025, we've got $100 to $200 million in the next 4 years projected to come in over what that was budgeted or that was past that. What are we going to do with that $100 to $200 million? Is there some of that money that can be taking care of some of these needed issues like the levee systems, like our roads and bridges, that wouldn't have to be put in on Vision 2? We don't know because there hasn't been public input, there hasn't been a lot of talk about that, because if that is in 4 years, we don't know what the future's going to hold. We need to slow down, back up, look at what we need to do, re-vote on this in 2016 after we have a good idea as 2025 comes to an end on what we need to go to the future with.
If Vision 2 passes, how can we be sure the money will go to any quality of life project, and who will decide how the money is spent?
For the counties, we passed a resolution. Sand Springs has passed a resolution that defines how the dollars are going to be spent. A lot of the outlying areas are doing the same, so that they are defining what their dollars are going to go for. So their elected officials are making that commitment. And there has been no issue with Vision 2025 and how those dollars have been spent. Those dollars have gone exactly where they were intended to go. So this conspiracy theory about where or are they going to spend the dollars with, I don't think that's an issue.
And I don't think there's a conspiracy there. I think it's documented. 2025, we don't know the final yet. And it is documented, it is reported, and we want to see a final report on that and how successful it is, where the failures are at on those items. Also, quality of life. What my definition of a quality of life project is going to be different than Commissioner Keyes or Dr. Nurnberg or any of you sitting out here. Your definition of a quality of life project, we're going to differ in what we think that is. Government's role and government's job is to do its best to service all the people. I believe that a quality of life project is roads, streets, and bridges, because that affects every one of us. All of us are impacted by good roads, good streets, because we travel on them every day. So are we doing a good job as a county, as a community, in taking care of our streets, roads, and bridges? No, I don't think we're doing a good enough job. I think in many cases, roads, streets, and bridges are put in there as bait to reel you in to vote for a project. That currently happened in my community. I live in Wasso on a $25 million property tax. We want to do a property tax with a lot of quality of life, and we're going to put in 20% for roads and streets and bridges that we're going to tell you for 10 years we're going to do. And the people saw through it, they voted it down. Good roads, streets, and bridges. If you talk to anybody, your neighbors or anybody, that's what we need. And I fully support those. And some of the other issues like Commissioner Keith spoke about, the levee system, those are needed things. Those are a small percentage of this Vision 2 package. There's a lot of wasteful money and money going to things that we don't need to be invested in because it's got a bad track record in the past, and we need to refocus. But how do we change it? We stop Vision 2, and then we have public meetings. We come back to the table, let everybody be involved, and vote on those things. Those communities on those Wasso Sand Springs and those communities on their projects
That's just a resolution. That's what it is. So let those communities worry about those things. Let them pass their own taxes. Let them be self-governed and figure out what they're going to do with their money and answer to their local city councils.
All right, I'm going to leave the card here because it's a 3-point question. In case you can't remember it, I forgot to write it. If Vision 2 fails, is it possible to rework it not to borrow money 4 years before needed? If we vote against Proposition 1, does it make sense to vote for Proposition 2? And if American Airlines agrees to stay in Tulsa, could we then have a bond issue for the one aspect before 2017?
This is hard. Yeah. All right. What the city of Tulsa has done for their projects is they have gotten dollars from private funders to do their projects early without having to use the bonded dollars. So they're going to be able to hold off on doing their project, but be able to do the ones that they absolutely need to do now, do them early without having additional bonding costs. So with the juvenile center, I've been seeking some private funds for that as well, and then I think that might be a way for me to do the juvenile center, for the county to do the juvenile center along the same lines, because that one does need to be done now. Now the levies, we are going to have to get started on those with the early bonding costs. And some of the infrastructure needs at the airport complex, those also are going to require early bonding. But how, if Vision 2 fails, I'm just not sure how we get some of these moving as quickly as we need to. So I don't know what to tell you on that one. Does it make sense to, if you vote against Proposition 1, to vote for Proposition 2? I will absolutely tell you, yes, please vote for Proposition 2. And I haven't heard JB say, he said, some of these we just don't need, but I haven't heard him specifically say something that's in Proposition 2 that we don't need. These communities know what they need. Tulsa came up with a good list. Tulsa County has a rock-solid list. So Proposition 2 is good. Proposition 2 is fantastic. But we also need Proposition 1 for the health of our small businesses that will continue to prosper if we keep a lot of folks working out of the airport complex. And if American business agrees to stay in Tulsa, could there be a bond issue for the one aspect for 2017? I mean, I would think, we could do something before 2017 if it should go down.
Last on here.
Yeah, it's possible to rework, but you can bring a bond. They can bring a bond issue. The commissioners can both bring another bond issue every year, twice a year if they wanted to. So there's other opportunities that we can have to come back to the table and pass another bond issue if that's what the people want to do before 2017. The vote for Proposition 1 and Proposition 2. Again, on both those propositions, our position is no on both of them because of some of the issues on 1 that we already spoke about. And on 2, again, Proposition 2, let's take it back and let the communities vote on that and let them decide. Part of Proposition 2 is the county issues and some of the issues that Commissioner Keith's talking about. We've dedicated about, I think it was $2.5 million to the juvenile justice system a few years ago when we were going to remodel a building and then update that facility. After that got voted on, then that $2 million ended up recently being spent to buy property for now a proposed $35 million or something like that. Okay. I want to be accurate. I'm not a guy that wants to not have accurate information. We've got to have creative. And Commissioner Keith will probably correct me on that. But there was $2 million spent and targeted for the juvenile justice system a few years ago. And now we've bought property with it. And now we're with a $38 million facility. We have a lot of school buildings around this facility that the Tulsa school system has given up. Why can't we go back and look at that? It's already shown that we can save some money by making a juvenile justice system. But the bigger picture is the dollars in the juvenile justice system on the big package is a small amount compared to the big dollars of $748 million. And I would urge you to relook at that and say, yes, let's come back, let's vote no now. But yes, we do want to come back to the table. We do want to look at these issues, but this is not the package to do it. Borrow money 4 years in advance, no matter what the project is not good fiscal business sense. And with $100 to $200 million
coming open in 2025, projected in the next 4 years. Why can't we use that money to do some of these projects? That's our question. And on the third one, if American Airlines agrees to stay in Tulsa, could another bond issue be passed before 2017? Yes, another issue can come back before the voters in 2017. America has already said in the short term, Vision 2 will virtually have no impact on Tulsa, on Americans' decisions. We don't know what their future is. If U.S. Air buys them, they can shut up shop no matter how much we put in those buildings, and they can move out of town. Again, their lease agreement was to put money into the building to maintain it. And American Airlines did contribute $37,500 to the Vote Yes campaign. A company that's in bankruptcy gave $37,500. That could have been used for some of those building maintenance facilities that was in their contract to take care of.
Well, actually, I think we're going to have to stop there to keep on our schedule. There are some other very good questions. I'm sorry we can't get to every one of them. I appreciate the time of Commissioner Keith and Mr. Alexander. And if you're willing,